So after a day off yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles returned to practice today where Jalen Hurts remained red hot. There were a few injury scares, and one thing is really starting to emerge. Deandre Swift is a playmaker. Dallas still stinks. Dingbat here, and I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. So after a day off yesterday, the Birds were back at practice where a bunch of different things went down. From Jalen Hurts remaining red hot, to Marcus Mariota struggling, to injury scares, to a true playmaker developing as the number one running back, clear as day. It is all going down. But before we get into all of that, I have to say this. If you're new to the channel and you like the content, make sure you hit that like button. More importantly, make sure you subscribe to the most censored, the most throttled Eagles content creator throughout the whole entire internet. And if you're here for the Eagles news and the cannoli, let's get into it. Now, the first thing we got to talk about, as always, is the injury report. The Eagles come into practice today pretty much healthy for the most part. The injury report really hadn't changed before practice, that is. But Tim McManus wrote this: Eagles injury report, will not practice Deon Cain ankle, Derek Barnett with his knee, although he was doing some limited reps with the linebackers. Avonte Maddox and his big-ass ugly green toe. And then Haason Reddick with a groin soreness. Not a contract situation. I can't tell you the amount of people who have thought that because of the interview that Haason Reddick gave about his contract, that somehow he was holding out and not practicing. But Nick Sirianni, of course, was going to have to address this before practice even started today. And what he said was this. He said, Haason Reddick, what contract situation are you guys talking about, when asked about it? Because there is no contract situation. There is nothing. Haason Reddick is here. He's engaged. He's working every day. He's doing everything he needs to do. He's being a great teammate, a great leader, and he's trying to get healthy. There is no contract situation right now. So I think, of course, the media was fishing. They were looking for anything to try to put a wedge between this Eagles team, the front office, because that's the Cowboys' only hope. Let's face it, Cowboys have no hope but that, okay? So Nick Sirianni spoke on that. A couple other things I thought were really interesting. He talked about Trey Sermon, and he talked about how Trey Sermon has been very, very impressive during camp. Is he throwing that out there because there's a possibility that we need to keep an eye on Rashad Penny, who I've heard has been really, really quiet? That's something to think about going down the road. Also, he talked about Deandre Swift, and what he said was, when you describe Deandre Swift in one word, it's simple. It's playmaker. Deandre Swift is a playmaker. And the one thing that I really take out of this practice was the amount of people saying Deandre Swift is clearly, without a shadow of doubt, the number one running back on his team. He is clearly the best running back on his team. He has taken the Bulls by the horn, and after hearing Brian Johnson talk about how he is going to implement running back in the passing game this year, Deandre Swift is primed for a huge year, a gigantic year, and I am excited about it. I got to tell you, I think Deandre Swift was one of the great trades we're going to talk about. I know he's had injury concerns in the past. I know Miles Sanders was loved by a lot of Eagle fans and is very talented. But I think if Deandre Swift stays healthy and lives up to what he can, he is going to be clearly he's going to have a giant year. He's going to have a better year, in my opinion, than Miles Sanders as a total, complete running back. He may have 800 yards on the ground and 500, 600 yards through the air. He's going to have that kind of year. He is making an impact in practice in bigger ways than I've heard about Miles Sanders make the last 3 years. Deandre Swift is a great name to emerge. This is a great sign, Eagle fans. This is great news, Eagle fans. We should be very, very excited. Also, some things not to be excited about. We had a few injury scares today. Nakobe Dean, James Bradberry, both at different times went in to the sideline, into the tent actually. Were in there for a while, came out. They both looked to be precautionary, especially Nakobe Dean seemed to be fine afterwards. Bradberry came out, had a towel wrapped around his head, and he seemed to be fine too. So it looks like we evaded injury scares. Though I gotta say this though, thinking about Nakobe Dean getting injured, and as that's happening in Twitter real time, and I'm thinking to myself, geez, you take one injury to Nakobe Dean, and you're scared at linebacker. You automatically become scared. Some people are even scared with Nakobe Dean at linebacker. The Eagles need to find a way to add some depth here. I really think, we talk a lot about safety. We talk a lot about, adding maybe another wide receiver. But I think linebackers got to be a situation where the Eagles should definitely want to add. The problem is I think out of all the positions that they need, I think the linebacker is probably the least likely position where they would do something. It's just not Howie's MO. I mean, you got a guy like Patrick Queen out there. Maybe you Eagles really need to think about it. Now, when Dean was out, Christian Ellis came in, and when Bradberry went out, guess what? Josh Jobe was the corner that came in for him. So it's pretty interesting. Another guy, and I'm kind of jumping from offense to defense today, but another guy that is clearly struggling is Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is clearly struggling as a passer so far in camp. Now, this could be something that can be ironed out and worked out. Great runner, very dangerous as a runner, but as a passer, he hasn't been too good. He had a ball almost picked off by Kelee Ringo, who actually showed up today, was covering Deandre Swift on a pass breakup. Could have been intercepted where Mariota was throwing the ball. And then another one where the ball was deflected by Josh Sweat, who actually almost caught it and intercepted it. But one thing has emerged so far in camp is that Marcus Mariota is struggling. At the end of my last video yesterday, we talked about Malik Willis as a guy who the Eagles may potentially be able to get if he's cut by the Tennessee Titans or traded on the cheap. I think this would be something you consider doing and bringing in. And I don't say that because I expect him to be the number 2 quarterback this year or ever challenge Jalen Hurts or anything like that. This would be purely as bring him in as a developmental project for the year, and then maybe next year he could be a backup, build up his value, and then you trade him. But so far, Marcus Mariota struggling a little bit. And that, to me, out of all the things that I'm kind of disappointed a little bit about so far in camp and what I don't like hearing, I think the biggest disappointment for me so far has been hearing that Marcus Mariota has struggled the way he was. I am glad to hear that Kelee Ringo is making plays. That's a great thing. I'm glad that Nakobe Dean and James Bradberry were not injured. There was also interesting video that showed A.J. Brown and Rashad Penny taking kickoff returns. I don't think you'll ever see this happen in a game, at least not with A.J. Brown. But I do wonder if teams are going to maybe start putting some of their better receivers back there and just fair catching the ball and taking it out to 25 and being done with it. Now that they changed up, the rules in terms of the kick return, which I really absolutely got to tell you, I absolutely hate it. I hate the rule change. I do. It was interesting. Jalen Carter was getting an education today. An education. He was going up at different times, back to back, going up against Lane Johnson. Then he would move over and go up against Jordan Mailata. And he didn't. I can't say he manhandled him or anything like that. But he did get to go up and he was working against those guys today. And I think that's a big learning situation for Jalen Carter. I mean, this is the thing that I keep saying, and I think is very underlooked, especially when you look at the national media and people on other teams and how they look at the Philadelphia Eagles. When you look at the Eagles and who they practice against, I mean, you can't get much better competition than you're going to get in practice, even in games. I mean, Deandre Swift, A.J. Brown going up against Darius Slay and James Bradberry every day. You're going to play a lot of weeks in the NFL. You're going to play teams that don't have 2 corners as good as those guys. And then on the reverse side of that, Darius Slay and Bradberry are practicing every day with A.J. Brown and Deandre Swift. Most of the teams, if not, I'd say just about all the teams that you're going to play this year, except for maybe 2 others, are not going to be as good at wide receiver as what you go up against in practice. Same thing with the defensive line. Jalen Carter is going up against Lane Johnson, a future Hall of Famer, and Jordan Mailata, one of the best tackles in the game, best young tackles in the game. This is who he's practicing against. This is who these guys are going up against. And then the offensive line is going up against young rookies, first-round picks, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, double-digit sack guys. The competition on this team is really, really unbelievable. And it makes sense why Nick Sirianni doesn't want to play guys in the preseason. You practice hard, you go at it in practice, because the practice, you're going to go up against better competition any day of the week than you're going to go up against a guy who's trying to make a team for another team. So I love exactly what the Eagles are doing. Another standout I want to talk about in practice, and multiple people were talking about him. Really hadn't heard a lot about him so far in camp, but Patrick Johnson should have had a sack on Jalen Hurts today, and everybody and multiple people are saying that he is having a really, really strong camp. He is a guy, when we get to next week, which I think we're a week away. Well, we're about 12 days, just over a week away from the Eagles' first preseason game. And he is definitely a guy that we're going to have to keep an eye on. We are going to have to watch, because he has definitely been showing up on the field. So it's going to be really interesting. Now, the Eagles practice again tomorrow. So we're getting back-to-back practices. And tonight, we actually have a Hall of Fame game. I will be streaming at some point later today. I'll try to have a stream later on today, and then maybe another video. I'm also working on shorts, and for those who are saying, what's all with all the shorts? The shorts aren't really for the people that come and watch the long form videos. They're just basically ways to promote my channel and get out to a different audience, because I think those who do the shorts and then do the long form are totally two different groups of people. So that's what the shorts are about, basically taking parts of the show and putting out there so people can hear, and if they want to come and and be a part of Dingbat Nation, they're more than welcome. We got a lot going on. We got streams coming up. We got a lot of football games we are streaming. So if you haven't, make sure you subscribe. You definitely want to be part of it. But I am going to try to stream later today. I will not be streaming the Hall of Fame game. I don't stream any preseason games other than the Eagles. During the regular season, we stream all the Eagles games. Whatever games the Cowboys, the Giants, Washington do that don't interfere with the Eagles games, and then we try to do primetime games, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night. We do a lot of football, so it's going to be very, very busy, but practice is done for the day, and the Eagles should be back tomorrow, and I will be back later today. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's how we vision. We're all just living in it. One thing I forgot to mention in this video that I wanted to mention was Sidney Brown is getting first team reps today with Reed Blankenship. This is something that we definitely want to also keep our eye on, because this is how I want this thing to pan out as far as the safety position right now. Unless they go out and the Eagles make a trade for somebody else, I want Sidney Brown to win the starting job. I think he's capable of winning the starting job, and I think Sidney Brown, if he could go out and win that starting job with Reed Blankenship, I think that's a good thing overall, because I think this kid has the talent to be a starting safety in this league. Obviously, from everything we've heard about him, he's very, very smart player, very instinctive, and I think this is a good fit. Now, are they just rotating him in because they need to basically do that? I don't know. But I think the Eagles and the search for a safety continues. This is why they work safeties out. This is why they're rotating so many guys in. But I don't mind seeing Sidney Brown win it. Denzel Washington out.